Today I'm going to do something I don't regularly do, which is revisit a game that I've already left a negative review of. When Monster Hunter Wilds came out, I was severely disappointed with it, and I love Monster Hunter, so that was like a big blow. But the reason I was disappointed with it was because, as many people had experienced, the performance was really, really bad. There were some other flaws in there too, but for most people, it boiled down to poor performance, and many veterans of the series felt that the game was way too easy. Now, recently the director of the game practically begged for people to come back and give it another try after the Title IV update that just happened on December 16th, I believe, for PC players. I'll throw some direct quotes up here, but it's not often that you see a director of a game who's so passionate about their game that they're asking for people to come back. We've made some changes. We really want you to appreciate and like what we've made for you, so give it another chance. So I said, you know what? They're asking nicely. I do like Monster Hunter. If they fix the performance, I'll give it another go. So, to look at my perspective of this, the last time according to Steam I played this game was in July, but that was just logging in to see if they fixed the performance, and they hadn't at that time. So before that, it looks like it was around May. May of 2025 is the last time that I realistically played Monster Hunter. So let's look at the difficulty of the game since then, let's look at the performance, and my new thoughts on the game now that we have the new update. So I put about 3.5 hours into the game on the Title IV update, and I can say I think the performance issues are fixed, but I'm going to put a little asterisk on that. Before, when I played, I couldn't even complete a single mission. I would be booted out of the game every single mission. It was darn near unplayable. It crashed, it would freeze, it would kick people out. There were all sorts of problems. And in the 3 different hunts that I did in different biomes, different areas, and wandering around, all those sort of things, I saw no dips of performance. I saw no crashes, no blue screens, no people getting kicked out. It looks like they truly did fix all of the issues for my PC. When I went on to like the Steam reviews and other people's experiences, there were many people saying that they still hadn't been fixed on their end and that they're still experiencing some sort of issues, which I think means that maybe they fixed for like Nvidia cards, but not for other cards or certain processors. As we know, when you're trying to do performance for a PC, there's a lot of different parts and builds and things that can cause issues. So it looks like they are making progress and they have updated it, but it may not have impacted everyone just yet. However, with these changes, I am confident they eventually will fix it for everyone. This has been a great update. It's everything I want for the performance. It's smooth, it's nice, there's no issues, but I can understand why people would say, well, I don't care at this point. The game is almost a year old, and while we have seen some amazing comebacks, Hello Games is obviously the most big, well-known one for No Man's Sky. There were a lot of people who were truly like, well, I don't care. The game is old now. I've played it. The hype is gone. I just don't have any interest in it. And I do think Monster Hunter is going to suffer from that until they launch the next Monster Hunter. And even if they do that, they're going to really need to prove to their audience, we fixed the performance issues. This will launch with no performance issues to gain back a little bit of that trust. So if your only sticking point was the performance issues, if you said, you know what, I want to buy this game, I want to play this game, but I don't want to have poor performance, it appears that has been fixed, and with it being on sale, near Christmas, now would be the time to get it. So if that was literally your only sticking point, or if you quit the game and said, I'll come back once the performance is fixed, it is worth giving it a second look now, as they have fixed a lot of performance. But again, according to Steam reviews, not everyone has experienced that. So with the performance out of the way, let's talk a little bit about difficulty. So this is going to have to be up to your individual prudence. What you're seeing here is my first monster fight after not playing the game for, 6 months, 8 months? So you would think that I'd be a little rusty. I just jumped right into it and started fighting monsters. I didn't re-familiarize myself with controls. I didn't go and look up like the training area. I didn't do any of that. I just said, you know what, let's just go in completely blind and see what happens. And I was able to hunt every single monster to completion. Now, some people might say that, well, that shows you the game is too easy. Someone who hasn't played in that long is able to come in and absolutely decimate things. Yeah, it's too easy. There's other people who might say, well, that just means that the controls are really good, right? Like the muscle memory, the way that it controls, the way that it handles, the telegraphing of the monsters, all those sort of things makes it really easy for you to see what's happening and to be able to complete those hunts. Now, granted, most of these aren't like super hard hunts in themselves. These are kind of mid-level monsters. It was a tempered Lala, but you know, that barely means anything. So take that as you will, but I do believe that the game is too easy, but I think I want to specify what I mean by that. If to you beating the game means just simply completing a hunt, it doesn't matter how many items you used, it doesn't matter what items it used, doesn't matter if you used SOS flares, it doesn't matter any of the circumstances. If your victory condition is simply beating the hunt, yes, I think it is too forgiving and too easy. You have a ton of healing items, you have a ton of grace. I'm wearing endgame gear, which it is a little frustrating that my gear is still pretty much the best possible gear, even though I haven't played in 8 months and there's been rebalancing and changes and things like that. You're going to have a really easy time. These monsters have nothing they can do against me in my endgame gear with my powerful shield, all my healing items, and all of that. But if you're trying to do something more along the lines of like challenge runs where you're not using the best gear, or you're using items you're unfamiliar with, or you're not using healing items, or you're even trying to go for like world records or speed runs where you're defeating monsters in 1 or 2 minutes, I would say that there's still difficulty there. I was not able to complete any of these fights in a record amount of time or anything like that. So I think there is difficulty. I think the difficulty has to be self-imposed though. And I know for a lot of people, they don't like that, right? Like, well, the game says I won, so I won. It doesn't matter whether or not I have self-imposed limits. It's too easy because I can win every single fight. And I'm going to bring up my favorite game, Helldivers, here, where we talk about this often about difficulty. There's a lot of people who feel like if you can win every single fight every single time, the game is simply too easy. And there's a lot of debate on whether or not that is true. There's some people who feel like you should fail 30 to 40% of the time or else it's too easy. There's other people who say, well, what about, skill level? If you're skilled enough, then everything should be winnable. And it's unfair if you simply lose because the computer said, well, you've won too much, so now you're losing despite your skill. So there's never going to be a perfect balance. Every person's going to have their own personal preferences in there. I personally enjoy putting in my own self-imposed challenges. I like doing Nuzlocke runs for Pokemon. I like doing completely naked runs in Helldivers 2. I like the self-imposed difficulty, and I would never want the devs to increase the difficulty to a point where I'm failing, because that means for your average player, especially in Helldivers, there's no chance that your general player is gonna survive at all. So it's really tough to say that the difficulty is a negative in the game. I had fun and I played it, but I honestly don't know if I'm going to continue to play it. As much as they asked me to come back and I gave it another shot and I'm very happy with the performance, it is just more of the same. All the monsters seem to be the same, all the fights seem to be the same, all my gear seems to be the same. Nothing has really changed all that much since the last time that I logged in. Sure, there's a few new missions here and there might be some new bounties and things like that, but it's still going to be the same old monsters, the same old fights I've already done. For context, I'm at about 30 hours with the new hours that I've put into the game after putting it down because of all the issues. Is 30 hours good for Monster Hunter? I don't think so. I played Worlds for 200, 300, 400 hours, and I was completing every single thing in the game because there were some great rewards for completing every single event, every single hunt, and all that. I got the rainbow armor. I super enjoyed it. I super enjoyed going in and helping other hunters. And I just don't get that feeling with this game. And this is going to spark another debate. The question is, okay, is that the fault of the game? Like, is it missing some magic? There's certainly a lot of reviews that say that it just doesn't feel the same as Monster Hunter World, that it doesn't feel like they've done the same amount of work, or that magic or spark is gone. But there's also the argument for, okay, well, you're a little bit older, you're getting older, your tastes may have changed, maybe you just don't have as much time, or other things like that, which may all certainly be true. I am on the side of, though, I think that there is some magic missing. Monster Hunter World was magic lightning in a bottle, right? They captured something truly special and they were trying so hard to recapture it, and I just don't think they managed to do that with Monster Hunter Wilds. I do think it is worth pointing out, though, in all fairness, that a lot of people came to Monster Hunter Worlds and experienced that magic at the big Iceborne DLC, right? When they gave us the big expansion. So Monster Hunter Wilds hasn't had that yet, so there's a chance for them to still do that, right? This fight here against the Rathalos was an interesting one I didn't know was in the game. When I came back, I first got to experience this, and this was like an arena fight, and it looks like the way the arena fight works is it puts you in like starter gear, standard gear, so you don't get to overpower by just putting on the most powerful weapons and things like that, which I really enjoyed, and I actually got my butt kicked a few times, which told me, okay, maybe the game isn't too easy, maybe I'm just being carried by my gear, and when you put me in like a fair fight here, I very much struggled with it. I still beat it, which goes back to the conversation of, okay, well, I still beat the fight technically because you get 9 feints, so is it too easy, or do I need self-imposed victory conditions? And again, that's a whole debate that you have to have with yourself. But I do think there's a lot of content here. So if you've never played the game before, and like I said, you're only held back because of the performance, like there's a bunch of different weapons to learn and master, and I like the gun lance, but you can learn every single weapon. And I think there's a lot of people who master 1 or 2 weapons and then they quit because, well, now it's too easy because I'm really good at this weapon. Well, go learn another weapon. There's a lot of fun weapons out there to try and use, so the content is there. There's hunts, there's bounties, there's all the investigations, there's the side objectives, there's just exploring the open world, there's a ton of weapons to learn, so for its price tag, I do think the game is worth playing. 30 hours is nothing to sneeze at. I know we live in a world where everyone says, well, we need at least 500 hours for a game to be worth it, but no, 30 hours is very respectable, and I think that I got my money's worth out of the game, especially now that I can actually play it. So I'd like to take my initial harsh review and say that the game it's in a meh state. Like, it's not a bad game. I don't think it's truly a great game, but if you enjoy Monster Hunter, I think you'll enjoy this game, maybe not for hundreds of hours like Worlds, but you'll enjoy it for the experience that it is. And that's up to you to decide whether or not, okay, 30 to 50 hours of content is worth the price tag. That's a much easier pill to swallow, of course, when we are dealing with sales, which I believe it is on sale during the winter sale now. So there you have it, a re-review of Monster Hunter Wilds. An overwhelming, like, it exists, but honestly I'm going to wait for the next DLC before I get super into it again. I'm hoping that we'll get a big Iceborne sort of like revive for a big expansion. I'll definitely come back and play it for that. And I know that it's way too early to hope for, but maybe the next Monster Hunter, right? Maybe we write this one off and we hope for the next Monster Hunter. I know that there's an app coming out, the Monster Hunter Outriders, that a lot of people are hyped for. I know it's entered into the beta. I sadly didn't get into that, so I can't really talk about it, but I'm hopeful for it, especially since the mobile gaming industry is lacking, let's call it, right now. So I'm excited to see what they can do with that, and next Monster Hunter I'll definitely play if they can promise that they did better on the performance and they didn't release it half-baked like they did this one. Like always, thank you for watching and have a blessed day.